Welcome to the Heart of a Viking. These art lessons are taught by Mrs. Minto from the Cape Henlopen School District in Delaware. I hope you have fun, create imaginative works of art, and make sure you share them with someone because, after all, the visual arts are meant to be seen.
Hey Cape artists, and welcome back to the Heart of a Viking. Today we're talking about football. No, we're not talking about football. We're talking about soccer, of course. No, you're right. We're not talking about soccer either. We're talking about baseball, the American tradition of baseball. It's America's pastime anyways. And the reason we're talking about baseball is because if you remember, we're counting down the days until summer break. Yesterday was day 10, which makes today day 9. And when I thought of the number 9, the first thing that popped into my head was baseball. Do you know why? That's right. Baseball has 9 innings in every game. So I thought this would be the perfect time for us to bring out our sports knowledge and to create a really cool baseball piece of artwork that shows perspective. I'm showing you perspective right now. Look how much larger this ball looks when I hold it closer to the camera and how much smaller it looks when I hold it closer to me. That's perspective. I changed your point of view. I allowed you to see it up close and then I allowed you to see it far away. So that's exactly what we're going to do in our project today. We're going to create some perspective. We're going to learn some really cool techniques. We're going to learn a hatching and a cross hatching technique that's great when you're shading or trying to fill in a large area. So I can't wait to share all that with you and some really cool baseball facts that have to do with the number 9.
Baseball started in the United States in the 1700s and 1800s, but historians are not sure who invented it. Many people in North America, South America, and East Asia play baseball. In the United States, baseball is called the national pastime because so many people in the United States used to spend a lot of time playing or watching baseball games. Let's investigate how baseball correlates to the number 9 as we continue our countdown to summer break. A game of baseball is played by 2 teams on a baseball field. Each team has 9 players. The game is played in innings. Professional and college baseball teams have 9 innings. In an inning, each team has 1 turn to bat and try and score runs with 1 point. When one team bats, the other team plays defense and tries to get 3 players out from the other team. The baseball is about the size of an adult's fist, around 9 inches in circumference. It has a rubber or cork center, wound in yarn and covered in white cowhide with red stitching. And there are about 9 pieces to each baseball player's uniform and equipment that they use during each game. Can you believe how many 9s there are in baseball? It's pretty impressive. All right, so now let's see what our project is going to look like. Whoa, do you see that perspective, that unique point of view? That looks like we are outside of a baseball field, kind of up high, maybe on top of a building, looking at the baseball field in the distance. And that baseball sure does look like it's flying right at us. The stands are full of excited fans cheering on the batter that just hit that home run right out of the park. This all sounds like the beginning of a really fantastic story. Artwork usually tells a story, but this piece of artwork particularly really feels like it should be the beginning of a really awesome story. Well, I hope you're excited to get started. Let's see what supplies we need. Alrighty, so for our project today, we'll be needing an eraser, a pencil, some crayons, some markers, washable markers and permanent marker. We'll be needing a paintbrush and some clean water, a piece of paper to work on, and some newspaper to protect our spot. Alright, so we're going to begin by drawing the baseball diamond first. Actually, we're going to call it a rhombus because it's a flat shape, not a 3D form. So we'll call this a baseball rhombus. And I'm putting it kind of in the middle of my paper and sort of on the larger side, not really small. I'm going to be seeing this picture from the outfield looking in. Okay, so now I'm going to mark off where the first, second, and third base would be with little half circles. Then I'm going to make a full circle where the home base would be. Okay. Next, I'm going to go ahead and put in the pitcher's mound right in the center of that rhombus. And then the foul lines. I'm going to start at the home base and sort of head off diagonally to the left, going off the page, and then also diagonally to the right, going off the page on the other side. Then I'm going to mark a curved line that shows where the outfield begins. Okay, now this next line is going to show the dirt where the dugouts would be and maybe where the players would be warming up. So I'm starting at the line for the outfield and I'm going up, curving around home base and coming back to the outfield line on the other side. Now this line is going to be the beginning of the stands where all the fans would sit. So I'm making a line that goes straight across, curves up around home base, goes down the other side, and then again straight off to the side. Okay, great. Now for the baseball or the softball that's flying towards us. So whoever just hit this ball is going way out into the outfield, definitely a home run for sure. So I'm making mine pretty big. I found a roll of tape sitting near me, so I'm going to go ahead and trace around that to get a nice perfect circle. You can also freehand it if you want to. Then I'm going to go ahead and erase all of the pencil lines that are underneath of that circle shape that I just made so that when I make my baseball, I don't have those lines all going through it. Okay, now for the lines to make this look like a baseball. 2 curved lines and some little stitching lines. Okay, 2 more little details here. One is going to be a set of lights that are way out in the outfield pointing in towards the players. If they ever have a night game, they can turn these on. So I'm starting with a rectangle or a square with a little line going down off the edge of the paper right at the bottom. And then some little circles to make it look like the lights. Okay, and then right next to this I'm going to put another little sign. This one's going to be the scoreboard. Unfortunately, from this point of view, from our vantage point, we're looking in at the game from the back. So we're actually going to see the back of the scoreboard. We won't actually be able to see who's winning this game. Okay, now put away this pencil, get your permanent marker out, and I'd like you to trace all of your lines with your permanent marker. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to creating the people that are in the stands. So I'm going to lay out all the markers that I'm going to be using. These are the colors I want to use, pretty much all the rainbow colors plus black and brown and gray. But now I'm going to put them in a different order. I'm going to put them from lightest to darkest. So I'm starting with yellow way over on the right. Then it was my light green, gray, orange. Now I think pink needs to be up a little closer to the front, so I'll squeeze that in there after yellow. And then red, and I'm just going to keep working until I get to black. Black will be my darkest color. Okay, so now the reason I did this, the reason I put them in order from lightest to darkest, is because when I start filling in the stands, I want to use the lightest color first and then the darkest color last. So I'm going to start with my yellow, and anywhere in this whole upper space, all of that space that's supposed to be the stands, I'm going to make literally millions of little circles. So I'm just making a circle and coloring it in, making a circle and coloring it in. You can vary the size. Some of them can be bigger, some a little smaller, and I'm literally making millions and millions. So I'm going to make a bunch of yellow ones here, and then put my yellow away and move on to pink, a bunch of pink ones, put that away, and then move on to my lime green, and just keep doing this over and over again until there is 0 white space left. Eventually, once I have a lot of colors of dots, I'll have to be overlapping some of my dots, which is fine and perfect. It just makes it look like your crowd is more filled and there are lots of people watching this particular game. Again, as I often mention, I do speed up my videos, so it seems like I'm making this really fast, but it really took a long time, probably almost 20 minutes just making all these circles.
I stopped to give my fingers a 7th inning stretch along the way too.
So you can do all of those things as well. Take time, take breaks, whatever you need to do, stretch your fingers until you'll get all the way to black, and you'll see how amazing it looks. Okay, so now that crowd is all filled up, we're going to move on to some other things. I'm going to move on to my baseball next. I'm making mine a baseball. If you want this to be a softball, just use the appropriate softball colors like yellow. So I'm going to use red on mine since mine's going to be a baseball, and I'm just going to trace around the stitching here. Okay, now I'm going to start working on the dirt portions of the baseball field. So I'm using 2 shades of brown here. I have one that's a little lighter, one that's a little darker. Use whatever you have. 1 or 2 colors of brown should be perfect. And I'm going to use little slashy lines. I have so many dots up in the stands for my fans that I didn't want to use dots again. So I'm using something different. I'm using little lines. When you make lots of lines heading in the same direction like this is called hatching. It's a great technique to learn and to use. Most of the time we use it for shading techniques, but it also can create texture as well. So I'm using hatching here, little short lines to fill in all the spaces that would be dirt on a normal baseball field. Okay, and as soon as all of that's finished, I'm going to do the same technique but with green, filling in all of the spaces that would be grass on a baseball field. Now, I'm not sure if you've been to a baseball field lately or seen a photograph of a baseball field, but the way that they mow the grass is beautiful. It often looks like a checkered board, or you can see like the dark lines of where the mower went up and down on the field. So I'm going to try and create that same sort of look with my darker green here, going in the opposite direction of my light green. Then I'm also going to add a little color to my scoreboard. Remember, this is the back of the scoreboard, so you're not going to see the actual score. It's just going to be little lines. And I'm using a cross hatching technique this time, where the lines went first heading towards the right, and now they cross over and go towards the left. Cross hatching. Yikes, I almost forgot this little corner. It's supposed to be some grass. Okay, so I'm going to switch my supplies here, and I'm going to get out my water and my brush and my newspaper so that I can begin my painting technique next. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some clean water on my paintbrush, and I'm going to brush across the marker that I had made my hatching lines with. And what this will do is it will take some of the ink from my marker lines and spread it to fill in all the spaces that I didn't color in earlier when I was doing my hatching technique. This is a great way to maintain some texture, but also make a painting. So I love this technique, and I'm going to use my brush right now to paint only all of my brown spaces. I need to be very, very careful along the Sharpie lines so that I don't touch the other colors of marker, because if I accidentally brush my marker against some of the green grass or maybe some of the dots where the fans are, then my colors will spread and smear and bleed together and create kind of an accident. It could be a happy accident, you never know what it might look like, but I'm going to try and avoid that and try my best to keep the water only where the spots are brown for right now. Alright, I'm going to switch to a little bit of a smaller paintbrush, and I'm going to use that just to paint my blue sign. So before I paint the green grass areas, I really want the brown to dry as much as it can so that I don't have that color bleeding that I was trying to avoid earlier. So I can do a couple of things. I can let it air dry for a few minutes. I can go take a break, or I could take it and put it in the sun for a few moments. It'll dry up nicely in the sun, or I can bring it in my bathroom and use my hair dryer like I've done a bunch of times to quickly dry that brown space, so then I can start painting the green space. And then once it's dry, you're going to paint the green spaces just like you painted all the brown ones a moment ago. And the crowd goes wild for our piece of artwork. I hope you had a great time making your illusion, making it look like the baseball is actually flying towards us. I hope you learned some really cool facts about baseball too. Who knew that there were so many things that had the number 9 in baseball? Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here next time at the Heart of a Viking. HOB artists, don't forget to hop on over to Artsonia to upload a photograph of your piece of artwork to your art portfolio. I can't wait to see it.